What is up, drop services? Dylan Sigley here, back with another video from a private quarantine secret location where I'm going to be breaking down some questions that I've received throughout the week to give you guys the answers you need to build your drop servicing businesses. Let's go. So before we get into the video, I just want to say a massive congratulations to one of the students from the Drop Servicing Blueprint, Radosław from Poland. He got his first and second sale. Awesome, mate, and you guys are really crushing it, so keep it up. But let's jump into the first questions. I don't want to keep you guys too long. The first question I hear is from Instagram. So they have a few questions. The first one is, how would I ensure that the freelancer delivers the service to clients and that there is no lapse in communication? So obviously, when you're first starting your business, you're not going to be an expert in delivering the service, right? You're not going to know exactly how to do it. And if you are trying to do things from scratch, do things alone, obviously you're not going to really understand the process as it would be. But what I can explain to you is you need to discuss with your freelancers how they usually go about the delivery process, and you can backwards engineer how to deliver the process in the best and most efficient way possible. That way you'll be communicating with your client exactly what the freelancer wants, and then you're going to be able to relay that communication between the client and the freelancer. So there's no lapses in communication. You'll be doing all of the communication yourself, and then once you master the process of delivering the service to the client from the freelancer, you're going to be able to automate it with a project manager who can handle the process of communication with the files delivery and feedback going back and forth between the freelancer and the client. And that's how you automate things in the long term. But in the beginning, I recommend you do things yourself so you can actually build that understanding between the freelancer and the client. The next question they ask is how, when, and how can I get the client to pay via PayPal? So obviously you need to get paid before you begin production, because at the end of the day, you're going to be paying the freelancer to deliver the service. So what I usually do with my teams is I have the client pay me 100% up front, and then I pay the team 100% on delivery once they've delivered the finished product. But another way you can do it, if it makes you feel more comfortable, is you can have the client pay 50% of the total price up front and 50% on delivery, and you can pay your team 50% up front and 50% on delivery. That way everyone's happy and you're good to go. In the final part of the question here, they say, can I hire a freelancer? You definitely can hire a freelancer. WordPress designer to design a website for me. Yeah, of course, why not? I mean, you can hire anyone you want to do anything you want these days, so go ahead, mate. The next question here is, have you faced a chargeback, and do you provide the system of proof of purchase? Other day I saw a YouTuber talking about it and got a bit curious. Yeah, so with drop servicing, chargebacks are not really an issue, refunds are not really a major issue. They happen less than 1% of the time, so it's not something you need to focus a lot on, unlike with drop shipping, for example. But they do happen now and again. I have had one chargeback in all of my years doing this, so it's really not a major issue for you to think about. And all we did with that was just resolve the chargeback. It was an accident on the client's part, and they just resolved it. I got the money back, and there was no issue with my payment processor. So it's not a major issue with drop servicing. I haven't really heard of anyone going through problems with it. It's usually more of a drop shipping thing when people aren't receiving the products or they're getting low quality products. Here, the client knows what they're getting, and you're delivering that service to the client, and the client is happy at the end of the day. So chargeback's not a major issue. And obviously you do have proof of purchase. They've made the purchase, you've got all of their details, you know that they agreed to the proposal, they agreed to a contract if you had them sign that contract. So you have all of the proof you need there for it never to be an issue for you. Even if chargebacks do occur, it's still going to be on your side. You're still going to win that chargeback because you have all of the proof at the end of the day. So not a major thing for you to worry about. Next, a subscriber of the channel, Garima. Can you make a video on how to start engaging with clients? For example, if I want to connect via LinkedIn, how should I initiate the conversation with the client? What all things should I include in the email and how to put it forward? Yeah, so when you're connecting on LinkedIn, you usually just want to be very casual about it. Just say, for example, that you're interested in following the industry, interested in following their niche, and you want to keep up to date with what they're up to and what their company is up to. But of course, when you're putting an offer forward, you need to be very straightforward, and it is an offer, right? So you do want it to be very specific to the client. The more specific specific it is to their current situation, the more likely you are to get a conversion. So to begin with, you want to grab their attention with something that's relevant to them. So you could say, for example, I noticed something interesting on your website, and then from there you want to define their problem. So you could say, for example, your competitor X is doing Facebook advertising and they're getting a $17 cost per lead. So they're probably getting $1,000 cost per sale for a $10,000 sale if it's a really high ticket thing where the commissions are huge, like real estate, right? And then you can say, hey, your competitor is doing this, but I can get you the exact same results. And then you're going into the attainable solution, showing them that it's very attainable for them to get that solution. So you just need to break down all the steps, break down all the costs, and break down the process for them to work with you. Once you've broken down the problem and then given the solution, you want to have a bit of proof and credibility. So any testimonials, case studies, statistics you have that really build up your argument that they need your service, they need to work with you personally. And then finally, a call to action at the end of the email or the message or the ad, whatever it may be, simply telling them what to do next, whether that be set up a call, reply to your email, or fill out the form on your website, or make a purchase. Then we had Lead Gurus here. Can you do an in-depth video about Upwork or getting your first client, please? Yeah, so we've got a video about getting your first client and also a video about Upwork. So check both these videos out, Lead Gurus, and you'll have the answer to your question. So my man Tim here had a question. Can you make a video about the prices of competitors in different niches and then tell us for what price we should sell the service? By the way, great video, learned a lot, awesome. So yeah, I mean, when it comes down to figuring out the prices, at the end of the day, you want to look at first of all what the freelancer's costs are, right? For a specific package that you're thinking of selling yourself. Once you have those freelancer costs, you want to go and check out all your competitor websites, reach out to your competitors, try and figure out what your competitors' prices are. Now, you're not always going to be able to figure out what all your competitors' prices are unless you do a lot of in-depth knowledge and actually put in the work. If you're not willing to put in the work, you can simply just say, hey, what I'm going to do is take this freelancer's package here, they're charging $500, and I'm going to add 50% to that 50% profit margin, so I'm going to charge $1,000. Then you're getting $500 profit from that service, right? So that's what you want to do, and that's a really simple way of pricing your packages just based on freelancer costs, because at the end of the day, if all you're doing is putting a 50% profit margin on your freelancers' prices, you're going to be undercutting any competitor in any service niche, and that's the best place to start. Then as you start getting sales, you can start increasing your prices over time as you build up those case studies and testimonials. Next, I have a question here from Ben Haney. Hi Dylan, how do you go about the logistics of connecting the client to the specialist freelancer? If a client wants to go forward with the offer, what are the next steps? So yeah, at the end of the day, when a client wants to move forward with an offer, you usually are going to have them fill out some sort of questionnaire or onboarding document to gather all of the information that you need, all of the assets you need to deliver the service. And you can figure out what that information you need is by simply talking to your freelancer and asking them questions in relation to what information they need to deliver the service. But when it comes to the communication between the freelancer and the client, you're simply going to be the person relaying that information, right? So you're usually going to be doing this over email or something like Trello or Basecamp, but usually email. So you're simply going to be relaying the communication, the feedback, the files back and forth via email between the client and the freelancing team. Then over time, what you can do is hire a project manager to handle that process for you and completely automate that step, which is the awesome part, right? Next, we have Eric Hernandez here. What do you use to send proposals or contracts online? A PayPal invoice stating all the details could work, or you prefer PandaDoc? So both of those options are great. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to your personal preference. It's not going to have a major issue in terms of the conversion rate and the likelihood that you're going to close the deal. But usually I just send proposals and contracts with a Word document. And if you need it to be signed, you can send it via DocuSign, which is really great. But when it comes to paying, of course, you can send a PayPal invoice. TransferWise is another great option, and some people even use Stripe, just having the client make a purchase directly on their website. But at the end of the day, there's so many options when it comes to proposals, invoicing, and payment processes. It's really just up to you at the end of the day, your personal preference. So I recommend testing out a bunch and figuring out what works for you. Next, I have a question here from Parakshith Gargyan. Hey Dylan, wanted to know, how do we ensure complete customer satisfaction in drop servicing? What if the customer wants a refund, and how do we deal with quality related issues? So when it comes to quality control, the first thing is making sure that you set expectations from the beginning with the client, right? So the client needs to know what they can expect from your service. So if it's, for example, something that is visual, like a graphic or a video that you're going to deliver, you need to make sure that the client is happy with your past work, because if they're happy with your past work, they're more likely to be happy with your future work, right? And then if it's something that comes down to the numbers, such as advertising, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., you can show them your average numbers with clients like them. But at the end of the day, you need to have a disclaimer in the contract saying, hey, we are not promising you any sort of results with this, etc., etc. And you're going to find that in just every single Facebook contract known to man. So those types of contracts, those types of advertising contracts, you're going to pretty much be stating and setting those expectations. It's up to the client to read through and understand everything in there. But you can ensure that client satisfaction by making sure at every single step of the process, you're keeping quality, right? You're assuring quality. You're looking at how things are being done. You're making sure they're being done in the same way every time, the same level of quality every time. And you can train your project manager with this through the use of working procedures, documenting step by step what they need to do to deliver a quality product or service to your client. Then if the client wants a refund, at the end of the day, it just comes down to what your refund policies are. Some drop services have 30-day money-back guarantees, some drop services have no refund policies, and some will refund the amount that hasn't been paid to the freelancer. So usually they'll just cut off the cost, so they always need to pay their freelancer a certain amount. They'll take that cost away and refund the rest to the client. So at the end of the day, it's up to you what you do. You just need to make sure you're upfront in the contract with the client what your refund policy is. Next, I have a question here from my buddy Carlos Parker. Hello Dylan, great content. Just a question. How do you deal with the after purchase for creative services? Having worked in an advertising agency myself, I know some clients are very hard to please, especially with creative stuff. How do you conduct the usual back and forth with the client? Usually they reject the first drafts. Do the client communicate directly with the freelancer, or should you be the middleman between the communication? Thanks. Yeah, Carlos, so of course, with creative things like graphics or videos, there's going to be back and forth feedback and revisions to each piece, right? So you need to be very upfront with the client from the beginning. First of all, if there's any costs in revisions, how many revisions are included in each package, etc., etc. They need to really understand what the revision process is going to be so that they're completely upfront with it. For example, one of my businesses, powerfulsalesvideo.com, we offer 2 sets of free revisions at each stage, and we charge the client $60 for each additional set of revisions. So that kind of stops them from doing a billion revisions. It keeps our costs under control in terms of production, and makes sure we get a bit of profit at the end of the day as well by having to go through and do all these revisions for the client. Especially because at the end of the day, as a drop servicer, your costs are going to be lower than most of these big agencies, so the client's already paying a small amount for the project, so they should be happy to pay for that additional. Now, of course, at the end of the day, you are going to get some very hard to deal with clients, and those I usually just drop. I just fire those clients. Sometimes I even refund them back when I had a refund policy. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's up to you. You just need to make sure with everything when it comes to these types of projects that everything is written down in the contract before moving forward with you. Everything is set in terms of the expectations. The client knows what to expect in terms of the costs, in terms of the number of revisions that are included, in terms of what the communication process will be throughout the production. But at the end of the day as well, you mentioned how do you conduct the usual back and forth with the client. Pretty simple. I use Trello, and also we have email. So you just go back and forth between the freelancer and the client over that email. The project manager manages that process of communication with the files and the feedback back and forth. Really simple process. Sometimes my project managers will even jump on a call with the client if the client wants to, but that's quite rare. You can also use Basecamp as another good one to manage the production process, but it really is a simple process at the end of the day, and these difficult clients are very rare in my experience. So another question here from Parakshith Gargian. And when someone searches for web designing on Google, Fiverr pops on top of searches with both ads and search ranking. As more and more people are becoming aware of drop servicing, can we be sure that clients will give our website a look before going on Fiverr, Upwork, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, so at the end of the day, my man, Drop servicing isn't something that's like new or popping up. It's been around for years, ever since the internet begun. All of these digital agencies are drop servicing for the most part, and the ones that aren't are slowly beginning to do it. So yeah, it's just common practice. Agencies have higher prices than these freelance networks, but at the end of the day, most clients you're going to find want to work with the professional, high quality agencies versus going on Fiverr and Upwork and having to search through all the different freelancers, figure out how to work with, and they're not sure the level of quality that they're going to get as well. So it's just different segments of the market essentially. Some clients are going to want to go for the big fancy agencies, some are going to want to go for the smaller agencies, some are going to want to go for the freelancers on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever it may be. But you did have a concern like, oh, what if my client finds Fiverr, what if they find Upwork? You don't need to worry about that. It never happens. Even some of my clients, they've already used Fiverr before, they've used Upwork before, they've worked with other freelancers and they didn't enjoy it. They prefer working with a company, and that's why they work with us. Because at the end of the day, when you're drop servicing, you're not hiring people on Fiverr and just giving the project from your client to Fiverr. That's really amateur, and I'm not sure why people are teaching that. What we teach and what drop servicing really is building a real online business, a real agency with a team that works in-house in your company, but it's built virtually. It's built over the internet. You're building it using freelancers who then become your team in the long term, who become your long-term team, and eventually they stop looking at Upwork, they stop working on Fiverr, and they just work for you. That's how it's done, because what these freelancers want is for you to provide them with ongoing work. They just want that ongoing work, and if you're able to be that golden goose, so to speak, and provide them with those golden eggs over a long period of time, they're only going to want to work with you because you have a lot more say, a lot more influence in their decisions, because you're bringing them so many clients. But in saying that, with Fiverr, with Upwork, with Freelancer.com, as a drop servicer, you can get sales on those networks. You can be on Fiverr and get sales for your drop servicing business, okay? So I know a lot of people doing this, and a funny story, even when I started my first drop servicing business ever, I hired a scriptwriter, right, on Upwork, and I was working with him for like 6 months. This is my first ever drop servicing business a long time ago, and I hired this scriptwriter and he was doing a great job. And it turned out that he was drop servicing the script writing to other scriptwriters. So I was running a drop servicing business, selling my services to clients, and my team was made up of a drop servicer who had a team of scriptwriters writing the scripts for him that I was purchasing from him. He never told me he was doing that, but it didn't really bother me at the end of the day because I was still making a massive profit by selling that, right? Selling on those services. And he was making a profit, everyone was making a profit, and the client was getting a good price for the service still. So at the end of the day, everyone is happy. It's a win-win situation. And don't think of Fiverr and Upwork as your competition. Think of it as a marketing channel for you to market your drop servicing business. And that's really the way to go as well, right? So as Fiverr becomes bigger, as Upwork becomes bigger, and they already are massive, they're huge companies, everyone knows about them, you can still use them as marketing channels for your drop servicing business and make a massive profit from them. But in terms of being worried if your clients find those freelance networks, most clients already know they can work with freelancers. They just don't want to because it's a lot of work for them to find the right freelancer to work with. And same with other companies, it's a lot of work for them to find the right company to work with. So it's much easier for them, it's a lot less time and energy for them just to work with you by you putting your offer in front of them. So it's part being in the right place at the right time. It's part finding the right person in the right market, meaning they want to work with a company rather than Fiverr or a freelancer. And then also think of these freelance networks as a marketing channel for your drop servicing business, and then you're going to win at the end of the day, whether they get big or small, whatever happens. So that's the video, guys. Hopefully today you learn a few things that you can actually implement in your drop servicing business. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below any questions you want me to answer in the upcoming Q&A video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.